welcome to another edition of the A-10 Insider Pod, and we got plenty to talk about today because the league has started off pretty darn well. And a little different than a year ago. League 31-7 so far this year. Last year, 27-13 through the same amount of time through the first 10 or so days of the season. And one of the guys who's gotten off to a pretty good start went down to Asheville, got a big win against Maryland before losing a heartbreaker against Clemson. We're going to talk to Davidson second-year head coach Matt McKillop later in the show. Again, got off to a good start. Like a lot of other teams have done so far. Maybe haven't played the same level of competition, but, you look at a couple of first-year head coaches a year ago that struggled, and that's URI, Archie Miller, Frank Martin at UMass, and they've both gotten off to good starts. And I think, a big part of that is when you come in and you get a brand new job, especially in this day and age, you're rolling the dice on transfers. You don't know what you have. You don't know what you need. You just go out and get dudes, whoever you can at that point in the portal. You don't know what you have NIL-wise. Now they've had a year under their belt to assess their programs, figure out, okay, what do we need? We can start to be a little bit more picky and choosy as we try to figure this thing out. And both of them have done a good job so far. And, you look at what Archie Miller's brought in with Jaden House, transfer from High Point, who put up huge numbers. Generally, that gets cut in half. Not these days quite as much, but he started out great and leading the league in scoring right now, almost 21 points a game. And, they're just much more efficient. And Archie has his type of guys now. Frank Martin, man, they're 2-0 and they're running and gunning. Frank Martin just, averaging almost 100 points a game so far at UMass. And, Diggins has been great. And Josh Cohen, the transfer from St. Francis, has been really good. And Matt Cross has been good. They got a lot of weapons this year. And it's good to see them playing up and down because that generally is the way kids want to play these days as well. So I think, Frank, I'm sure, wants to see the defense improve here as they go forward. But those are a couple of guys that have gotten off to good starts. St. Louis 5-0 and George Mason. Honestly, they've done a great job so far with a first-year head coach and, guy who certainly knows the program. And he brought in a couple, key transfers, right? I mean, you look at Keyshawn Hall, what he's been able to do, averaging a double-double, coming in from UNLV, talented kid who's now got a chance to be the guy instead of being a piece at UNLV in the Mountain West. Amari Kelly, older guy from Wilmington, UNC Wilmington, who's been great. So Hall and Kelly going to give certainly George Mason a chance here. St. Bonaventure, they take Charles Pride. He's been really good. Dayton's the one that I think it's going to be interesting to watch here going forward. Obviously, losing Malachi Smith again. I talked to Anthony Grant briefly, and he said, we're going to have to figure it out again. We did it without Malachi last year. We kind of know how to do it, but that doesn't make it easy because you're talking about a guy, you were going to build around again for the second straight year. And now at least there's finality, for better or worse. At least you know what you're dealing with if you're Anthony Grant and that coaching staff. Now you are not going to have Malachi Smith for the year. You got to figure this thing out. It's not like he's going to, you're preparing for maybe 10, 15 games, and then he's coming back, and then you got to revamp or revert back. So I think the league, again, done a much better job coming out of the gates, giving themselves a chance. Not too many bad losses per se. A couple there that you'd like to have back. Bonaventure to Canisius, certainly. VCU to McNeese. There's a few there. Loyola's started tough, but you play FAU. FAU's a top 10 team. You're not supposed to win that game right now. So I think for the most part, they've done what they should do. Avoid the bad losses, pick off a couple good wins, and give yourself a chance. Now, getting into a lot of these MTEs now, this is really, in a lot of ways, where you earn those multiple bids. You've got to do well these next couple of weeks in the non-conference, pick off a few more high majors. Teams kind of establish themselves as tournament caliber teams going into the league because that gives you resume wins on the table as well, which really wasn't the case so much a year ago. So let's get to it. Davidson, second-year head coach Matt McKillop, talking about his team's good start. I think, again, he'd like to have the end of the Clemson game back, which he'll talk a little bit about. But splitting down in Asheville against Maryland and Clemson, that's certainly good news for Davidson and Matt McKillop. All right, now pleased to be joined on the A-10 Insider Pod, none other than Matt McKillop of Davidson, coming off a really good trip down to Asheville, not because you went to the breweries, but because you came back and you split and you got a big win over Maryland and fought Clemson tooth and nail and had a chance to win that one. Matt, first of all, when you go into an event like this down in Asheville, 4-team event, what are you thinking in terms of like expectations? Are you thinking, hey, we're happy to come back with a split? Or are you saying to yourself, we want to come back 2-0? How do you look at it when you go in?
I think we have to have the same approach going into that game as we did against W&L, a non-division. I say that game, sorry, that event, as we did against the non-division 1 team the week before, W&L, who we played. And yeah, we want to win every game we play, but we just have to have the day-to-day approach of getting better, fighting to win every possession, and having fun. And that was our goal, to go down there and just continue to do what we'd done in practice, which was to get better, to take advantage of that opportunity. And if we keep it to that, we believe that things will work out in the right direction. And coming home with a split, we should have won that game on Sunday, or at least we believe we should have won that game. We had a lead in the first half, and we had some miscues defensively. We had some things that didn't go our way offensively, but we came home thinking, one, we could be pretty darn good sooner than maybe we thought we could. But two, we had a chance to take what was ours in that game against Clemson, and we let it slip through our hands. So every day we have to have this same approach and not let that happen again.
It's almost like mixed feelings coming from that trip, right? You feel really good because you played so well, but you feel like you kind of missed on an opportunity there against Clemson at the end.
We felt like we could have played better in those moments. And you come home, and I think some of the expectations were lower for us this year than in previous seasons. And we got a lot of texts and emails saying congratulations. And I absolutely appreciate that support and the people that are following us and supporting us. But that was bittersweet. Yeah, I mean, we're happy with getting everybody's attention, but we wanted to come home with 2 wins, and we felt we could have.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You're picked 12th in the preseason, but that's not what Davidson's about, right? I mean, when I ask you that question, I'm thinking, all right, most teams you're happy with the split. But again, you're Davidson. Like being picked 12th in the preseason, finishing where you did last year, not good enough. You want to fight for titles. That's what you guys are about. And I'm sure that's what you're kind of preaching to your kids. Like, our culture is to try to win every game and expect to win every game, no matter who it is.
Yeah. And thankfully, we don't really have to preach to our players. They're terrific kids. They're bought in. If you followed those games closely, even our first game, we've played with a lot of depth, and we've asked our freshmen to step up and make some things happen. And to make note of 2 guys specifically, Bobby Durkin, our freshman from Chicago, made some big shots, including what was the game winner on Friday against Maryland. And then we went to Hunter Adam, a freshman from New Zealand, in the second half to play some heavier minutes at the 4 spot. And he made 3 threes, which gave us the lead with 7-8 minutes to go. So you don't have that unless the upperclassmen are bought into everybody on our team having the role that can help us win. And you don't have that unless everybody just wants to do what's best for the team and be willing to sacrifice. So preaching is thankfully something I haven't had to do. These guys, they want to win. They want to play the right way, and they take every day as if they want to do that. And it's easy to say that on November 16th, that the challenge and the next step for us is to see if we can do that consistently.
Yeah, sustain it, no doubt. Durkin's a kid that, honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about. 6'7" forward, like you said, out of Chicago, Glenbard West. And he was terrific. He's your leading scorer after 2 games. I don't know if even you would have predicted that one. But listen, in this day and age, Matt, where the high majors are taking all these transfers, does this give you an opportunity? Would you have gotten a Bobby Durkin potentially 5 years ago, or because he's a skilled 6'7" forward, might he have gone to a high major? And kind of, obviously, it's just a different landscape right now where maybe you can get a higher level freshman because a lot of the high majors are saying, like, we need to win now. We're going to take transfers.
I don't have the perfect answer to that question, but I do think it allows us to recruit the way we want to recruit, which is to really sell guys on the fit for Davidson College. And maybe schools aren't necessarily looking for fit. They're looking for age and they're looking for a talent. And we believe that Bobby's talents fit us, as our other freshmen as well. But I think he came to Davidson because he saw guys like Youngjun Lee and Michael Jones and Kellen Grady and guys with somewhat of a similar skill set, but with the same type of makeup and DNA in terms of their basketball IQ and feel for the game. And I think he believed that this was the perfect fit for him to be the player he wanted to be. I don't know if he's got a chip on his shoulder, so I can see him expecting to play the way he's played. But I think what our staff was most excited about when he arrived, we knew he could shoot the ball and we knew he was very smart. But I mean, the number of deflections he had, the number of rebounding plays he made, the number of loose balls he got, he made what was the game-winning shot against Maryland. But the previous offensive possession, he got a rebound and drew a foul just by putting himself in the right position, which that's a toughness play. That's an IQ play. So he has all those little intangible things, and we're really excited for what he's going to do at Davidson.
Yeah, that's what you want to see out of a freshman. Like you said,
yeah,
if he's a shooter, you have confidence. But if he's going to mix it up and fight as a freshman, that's going to be that's not playing like a freshman. That's
playing fearlessly is something that we have not had to challenge him to do.
Yep, that's great. That's great. Our biggest question, I think, for everybody coming in this year, and we talked about it at A-10 Media Day, was losing a couple dudes. Lawyer was your guy. He was your go-to guy.
Yeah,
veteran. Sam, obviously was terrific for you. This team is more balanced. You said it coming in. You knew it was going to be more balanced. How different is that to be able to, on one hand, it's a major advantage for you. On the other hand,
yeah,
that's a little bit tougher at the end of close games. You knew where the ball was at the end of games last year. You knew whose hands it was going to be in.
Yeah.
Now it's different, isn't it, to try to game plan at the end, what you're going to run, who's going to take those final shots. Is it more just, hey, move the ball and let's get it to the open man who can get the best shot?
I'm glad you pointed that out, because that is it's one of the great strengths and one of the great challenges we have. We sit down as a staff and we're like, okay, in this situation, who do we go to? In this situation, who do we go to? And we have so many different options. We analyzed, okay, what could we have done different in that final minute of the Clemson game, in which we got 3 looks in the final 15 seconds, 2 of which were pretty well. I say all of which were shots that each of those individuals could have made. But then how do we then rehearse? Like last year, we knew we were going to do something for Foster, and Sam was going to be involved in that action, Sam Anenga. So it was simplified in a way, and there was talent enough right there that something good could often happen. Now we have talent that's spread out, and do we want to go with the isolation play, the ball screen play, the post-up play, the shooter play, the second option on the shooter play? And we have all these options, but it's just creating a little bit more the cloud is a little bit longer,
yeah,
a little bit,
more options,
a bit hazier.
Yeah.
So it's to your point, like we just, in that final possession of the Maryland game, we just ran our offense and believed that we were going to get a good shot. We got a great shot. I don't know if we're ever going to get quite as good a shot in that type of circumstance just by running our offense. So we do have to be a little bit more calculated and strategic. But that is, it's interesting. Last year there wasn't any, we're going to get a great shot, maybe. Right. We knew we were going to go with those 2 guys in an action. This year, I think we'll get a good shot.
Matt, people knew what you were going to do and who was going to be in that action last year. Now,
right,
opposing defenses, at least early in the season, they're going to have no idea.
Right. And yesterday in practice, we said, hey, this is what we think we could have done on a different last play. Not that we didn't get great looks. And we were going against our scout team, which is made up of some of our coaches. And we got the third option was a great look. And even the scout team and the coaches didn't know it was coming. Meaning, it's to your point. We have talent. We have different guys that can do different things. And if we just keep moving the ball, I believe something good can happen. Really good to feel that way after 1 week of basketball. We got a long way to go to figuring those things out and hopefully getting better with some consistency.
So I remember having a conversation a couple of years ago. It might have been Jay Wright's. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Maybe it was 3 years ago. About Brizzy. He wasn't playing. And we were talking a little bit about kind of the next guy. And he said, he goes, listen, Brizzy gets his ass kicked every day in practice right now. But so did Colin Gillespie. And look at what happened with him. Nobody thought Colin Gillespie was going to be Colin Gillespie. He felt like at that point, Brizzi had a chance to be a really, really good player. Obviously, didn't work out at Villanova, and I think you're the beneficiary of that. He's been really good already. What have you seen out of him right now to think? And again, he's scratching the surface. He hasn't played a ton of basketball, but he was great for you down in Asheville for the most part, wasn't he?
He was terrific. He has a major edge to him, chip on his shoulder. Naturally, he's just a very intense, aggressive player. And I really think that that's changed our team. I think it's changed the way we practice. I think it's changed the environment of our gym. And that in itself, I keep telling him, don't lose sight of that. He has not been efficient from the field, which we're not worried about. We know how talented he is of a scorer and a shooter. And he can, and not that he is, but he can hang his head about that. But we say, hey, we are who we are right now from an intensity standpoint. We're pressing right now because of what you've brought to the table, just out of your intangible abilities when you step on the court. He had, in our Maryland game, he had 6 steals. And in addition to those 6 steals, he took a charge, which forced a turnover, and he got a deflection, which went off their foot and went out of bounds, which didn't result in a steal, but was a turnover. So we're talking 8 turnovers that were because of Angelo's defense. He's special in that regard. He can change the game on each end. He has to get better, as we all do, but he has to get better in the little details of commanding the game offensively. Grant Huffman has been our starting point guard, and we didn't know Grant can command the game like he has in our first 3 games. Angelo's going to have to learn how to do that as he gets more and more reps. But we're talking about someone who I think played 58 minutes of college basketball and then got tossed to the Wolves, in a sense, down in Asheville, and we came out feeling pretty good about what we have.
Listen, you know you can never have enough point guards on your roster.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
right.
Never. Like, because, and people are playing with multiple point guards all the time now. Listen, we've seen it with national championship teams. Like those are the best teams, the ones that have multiple guys that can make plays, not only for themselves, but for others. And if you can have Grant and Angelo out there, and they're both able to do that and able to, again, keep the defense honest enough, right? You got to make shots. You got to be a weapon offensively as well.
Yeah, and they're both very willing ball movers. They're both very willing cutters and screeners, but I think they both have the ability to play defense on the ball in a way where we can switch a screen, or we can have to scramble and maybe get a cross match, and Grant's now guarding the 4-man, or Angelo's now guarding the 4-man, and they're physically and athletically capable of playing that spot defensively. So I think they give us a lot of different tools that maybe we didn't necessarily have in the past.
So you played 10 guys, I think, double-figure minutes so far. It's a lot. That's a lot. Hey, like we talked about, it's a great problem to have, but at some point, you're going to have to cut down the rotation. How great are practices right now, Matt? Because everybody's fighting for minutes, right?
And we've got 3 guys who have maybe not gotten the minutes that they will in their career, and they're fighting for reps in practice. And it's great. And obviously practice adjusts a little bit when you go from preseason to in season, where you're preparing and you're playing against the scout team's offense for Maryland, Clemson, East Tennessee State, who we'll see tomorrow, which means there's even less reps. So there's just a level of intensity anytime we go live with we don't play necessarily first team against second team, but the red team against the black team. And it's great. And it's why the intensity level is what it is. And we've been able to sustain it. And if we can sustain it and we can continue to be consistent, maybe 11, 12, 13, maybe they find a way to get a minute here or there. And that's going to help us in the long run when it comes, conference play and we get to March.
I had never been to Asheville. I went to Asheville a couple of weeks ago. I know you didn't really get a chance to hang out in Asheville at all. You were working, but great city, good breweries, cool little downtown area, right?
Yeah, and we played when we were in the Southern Conference. That's where the Southern Conference Championship were held. I think they're still held there. Yeah. So we got a good taste of some success down there in those days. We played in the Maui Invitational during the COVID shutdown year, or the COVID season, and it was moved to Asheville. So we're playing in that. It had a different name now, the Cherokee Civic Center, and there was all this Hawaiian decorations and stuff in Asheville in cold, rainy November in North Carolina. But we've had good experiences there on the court, and obviously, like my family and I, we've got kids, and that's a great little 2 hours from Davidson, a quick little getaway, and there's so much to do. I think we had a great fan turnout there, and it's an easy And when we signed up for the tournament, we knew that. We knew we were going to get a great fan turnout because so many people love getting to Asheville. So very cool town for sure.
Defensively, Matt, how much better have you been already out of the gates than you were a year ago?
I think we've forced a lot of turnovers. I think having length at every position is giving us a chance to just have a different, like we're sticking to the same fundamentals, maybe a few more things we've emphasized and adjusted. But it's allowed us to somehow force some chaos and turn defense into offense a little more quickly. I think we've got some tough kids that are disciplined defensively, but also they're disciplined from a rebounding standpoint. We've faced some really good post offensive teams in Maryland with Julian Reese and with Clemson. Clemson is really good. We've played against Clemson a couple times.
Hey, PJ Hall's terrific.
And when you add fifth-year point guard Chase Hunter, I say add. When you have fifth-year point guard Chase Hunter, you have fifth-year 1,700-point scorer Joe Girard. You have fifth-year Alex Hemingway, who I think he made 3 threes against us. That is a really good team. But I think if you were to say, okay, where could Davidson's weakness be? You lose Sam Menenga, maybe it's their interior defense. But we've played pretty darn good team defense in the post. Now we've got to get better at defending the 3-point line. And get that better doing some other things defensively as well. But really pleased with our guys buying into scouting report, buying into the details and understanding, okay, if we chase these guys off the line a little bit better, if we protect the 3-point line a little bit better, we come out with 2 wins in Asheville.
Yeah, that's where you got to feel good. I mean, again, you're right. You went up against such an old Clemson team.
Yeah.
And you're right there with again, obviously you got some old guys too, but you're not old by any means. I mean, right?
Right. I mean, and we talked about this in Asheville. We don't have grad school, so we don't have grad transfers. So we're going to rely on getting our guys better and development being such a big part of this process at Davidson, and then bringing in young guys that are so bought in that they're going to translate to have an opportunity to play early because they fit and they're bought into the way we want to play. I think that's what I feel really proud of is that, and that Maryland team, they're that core of 3 guys, Jameer Young, Dante Scott, Julian Reese. I mean, they are as talented as any team in the Big Ten. And I think they're going to figure it out with their young guys and their new pieces. But that Clemson team, that's a really, really good Clemson team. And for us to be able to, look at the roster and look at the age and look at the experience of them and say, hey, we're not afraid to play our freshmen. And then for them to come out on top as well as all of our other guys come out on top, to come out seeing success in some ways, I'm proud and fired up for where we're going.
Yeah, I could see both of those teams being NCAA tournament teams at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah.
Like Maryland's got a couple good young guards. It's going to take a little bit more time, but like you said, Julian Reese, Jameer Young, like those dudes are good. Clemson, Brad's got a really good team there.
Very good, yeah.
So again, sometimes like getting these guys early. I don't know if I would have predicted that for you because you had a completely new team and really Maryland and Clemson had more returning than you did. But I think that's the beauty, like in seeing maybe the chemistry too come together so quickly, because that's something you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, again, I know the Davidson culture and all that. I know who you recruit, but you still don't know how the pieces are going to fit together until they're on the court.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because we felt that in the preseason. We felt that through our close scrimmages, but now you got to do it against a Big Ten team and an ACC team in 2 out of 3 days. And I think that allows our buy-in to be even greater and the willingness to sacrifice when you see 10 different guys step up and make plays for us at the right moments, that allows the buy-in to be even greater.
That helps too, right? 10 guys are playing. 10 guys,
yeah.
They know they're going to play, right? They're getting out there and they're competing for minutes and they know there are minutes to be had. All right, so I don't know what the A-10's record was a year ago at this time, but you're 31-7 as a league right now. Got to be better. Got to be better. I mean, it's been, I'm saying it's much better this year than I think it was the start a year ago. How important is that? First 10 days of the year, you guys have had some nice wins, not a lot of losses, bad losses. How important is that for the league right now? And how much do you watch that, Matt? Because obviously you're consumed by your own team. We know that.
Yeah.
But how much are you peeking at that and saying, hey, you know what? All right, that's a great win. That, hey, they won that 5 game. Whatever it is, are you box score watching every day?
It's funny, and I don't know if most coaches are like this, and this is how I've been for a while. When when you're winning, you watch scores a little bit more closely. You're like, oh, I want to see how those guys are doing. When you're going through a tough stretch and you're losing, I don't want to see how anybody else is doing. It's going to make me feel one way or another that I don't need to feel right now.
Yeah.
So I've followed some scores, and I've even, like, as I'm watching, preparing for East Tennessee State, I'm flipping to ESPN's website and seeing the games and clicking on ESPN Watch for the close games that are in the final minute or two. I like doing that because I see how some teams may operate situationally, like the way Penn played against Villanova the other night. The way the Duquesne and Princeton game last night, I ended up watching that final minute last night, as well as we did a close scrimmage with East Carolina. So I was curious, having seen them, how they closed out their game, which it didn't go the right way against SC Upstate. Went down to a foul up 3 situation, and South Carolina Upstate fouled up 3, and they gave up a 3 at the buzzer that would have lost them the game after a missed free throw offensive rebound. But it is important. I mean, it's so great for our league to get wins right now that carry into league play. Not that I'm thinking ahead, but just knowing that we've played now Maryland and we've played Clemson, and from like a statistical standpoint, we played them at a level that helped us. And they're going to be playing in the Big Ten and the ACC, where their numbers are going to remain high no matter what. So for us to have played those right now, it's going to be fun to follow those teams because they're going to help us every single game they play when they get to conference play. We need to make sure the A-10, we would love it if Atlantic 10 teams put themselves in the same position by being successful. So yes, I'm watching it. I'm not getting caught up in it, but I'm from afar, I'm aware of who's playing. I know that we've got some games today. There's a lot of the MTEs begin today, and I know this weekend's going to be big for our league to get some quality wins.
So when you talk to your team coming out of this event, and now you got ETSU coming up on the road, which is a dangerous game, and you're playing on the road because you said the A-10 volleyball.
Correct. Davidson College, we got a great volleyball team this year, and we've got a great volleyball program, but we are hosting the Atlantic 10 volleyball championships here in our Belk Arena. I'm now a volleyball fan after going to a match with my daughter at Indiana this past week. I'd never seen one college in person. I'm completely hooked now. It's fun. It's fun. My daughter wants to have a volleyball birthday party because she's loved coming and watching our volleyball team and the environment and the excitement of those games.
Really good. So you got to go on the road, ETSU, dangerous game, any road game against, a team like a program like ETSU is going to be dangerous. What are you working on in these days in between that you have a chance to finally get real game tape? After the preseason, you don't know how these guys are going to play with the lights on and all that. What's been the thing that you've stressed the most in these days you've had a chance to look at tape and really get out there and practice?
I think from an offensive standpoint, we use the phrase hitting singles. We got rolling a couple times in each of those games, and we were swinging for the fences. We were trying to make big shots and big plays when we got leads because we kept it simple. We made the right plays. Defensively, I think there's a number of different things that we've tried to get better at, whether it's protecting the rim better, whether it's chasing guys off the 3-point line with IQ in the way that we want to be able to do it. But the basketball side is less important, of just this being another opportunity for us today in practice, as tomorrow's day in practice. And then, well, I guess tomorrow being a game, this is an opportunity for us to just show that we can do this on a day-to-day basis, not just when we have a Big Ten team or an ACC team waiting for us. We got to be able to do this consistently. And that's a challenge for young teams. Young teams maybe have immaturity, or they don't have that veteran presence that's going to lead them in that direction. I think we showed last weekend that we have those pieces. Now we just have to show how consistently we can take advantage of this opportunity to get better.
All right. Matt McKillop, Davidson head coach. Thanks for joining us on the A-10 Insider Podcast. And keep it going, my man. Keep it going. Fun to watch.
Thanks, Jeff.
Far. And can't wait to kind of see how this team continues to develop, because you got some really good pieces. And again, like, to me, the Brizzy kid, like, coming from a culture program too, that can't be overstated. Like, to me, that's so important. Him watching that Villanova program and how they do things, and getting a guy like that with that toughness, that chip in their shoulder, he'll continue to get better as well. So thanks for joining us. And
thanks, Jeff. Sounds great.